Hey guys, how you doing? Well, I'm doing okay. It is now 9:40 Eastern Standard Time. Um, on this Wednesday, the day of the Mueller um, hearing. Now, I wasn't planning on talking about anything political, but what I have just seen in 65 minutes of the testimony, that is 1 hour and 5 minutes. Okay, because it started at 9:30, or I'm sorry, 8:30. It's 9:30. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it started at 8:30, and it is now 9:40. Okay, so I've been watching for 1 hour and 5 minutes, and then it reached a point where I laughed my head off and I turned the damn thing off. Okay. All I'm going to say are two things, and only two things because they're significant. One, when it came time for the narrative of President Trump being notified that special counsel has been appointed, somebody, I forget who it is, but it was Manafort, I think it was, who was already charged with a whole bunch of crimes, okay? Manafort, which, well, actually, I don't know. That aspect I'm not sure. Because I think I heard some talk about President Trump going to pardon him. Because when it comes to political science and all the terrible politics that's going on, it's all like quantum physics to me. It's like um, something divided by zero. I mean, it's just, you know. Because how many nothings can you fit into a bucket? Right? You have a bucket. And you're going to fill that bucket to the rim with how many nothings? How many nothings can fit into a bucket? That's what political science is like to me. Okay. What this person said, Trump did, and say is considered hearsay. It's hearsay. And because this person who got into trouble or whatever claimed that when President Trump was notified, that he leaned back in his chair, shouted and screaming, "Oh my God, this is the end of my pregnancy. Presidency, I am effed." Okay. That's hearsay. That is hearsay. Now, I'll tell you this. I know Mueller wanted to sit down with the president, but that should have been one of the questions that he put on paper to Trump to answer. What did you say when you were told? Okay. I'm sure that would have been one of the questions, because, it wouldn't be prudent for him to say, "Did you say this? True or false?" No. The best way to present that to President Trump is, what did you say when you were told that a special counsel has been appointed? Then Trump would write down what he said and did. Now, why was, if he didn't do that, okay, that would be something, that a prosecutor would do. If there's a claim, and this is all in the course of law, I mean, from my limited knowledge of law, okay, but to me, it's basic common sense. It's basic common sense. If somebody, like, let's say, if somebody says somebody else said and did something, wouldn't you want to go to that person and not ask them, did you say it or did you do it? But to ask, what did you do? Let him answer what he said and did. Okay. It's like why people are separated when there's two people involved in a crime. I watch this all the time on Law and Order SVU. It is basic common sense that if there's somebody, you separate them. You separate them and you find out if the stories jive, if they tell the same stories, if they contradict each other. He says this, but he says that. They don't have their story straight. So somebody is lying. Okay. But then again, it could say, okay, let's get our story straight. Now remember, if two people are going to be committing a crime, right? It's like, okay, if you're questioned by the police, be sure you say this, this, and this, because that's exactly what I'm going to say. Well, whatever, But that would be something that it's like separating President Trump from the person who claimed he said and did something. Okay, so it's common sense to get at the truth. To ask, what did you do and say when you found out that you were being investigated? Or that a special counsel had been appointed. What did you do and say when you learned that? And then you see if the stories jive, if they're consistent. Because if they're different, then you have to take the person's word over the hearsay, over the person who claims he said and did this. Okay? Because, hey, I could say all kinds of things. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. We hear that all the time. Actions speak louder than words. And talk is cheap. I could say to you, I will give you $1,000 a week. Now, are you going to hold me to that? Did I do something? Right? I could say, mucha bada bo. Right? Anybody can say anything. Talk is cheap. Talk means nothing. Nothing. And that's why, in most cases, it is. Okay. That's why they're going after about firing Mueller. Because President Trump was asked, did you talk about firing Mueller? And it's like, no. Or something like that. Did I do it? Did I fire him? No. I might have thought about it. I might have said, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. This is a waste of time. This is going to be a waste of money. Let's end this. And then he's advised, you know what? Let him go on. I said, yeah, I guess you're right. We do this all the time in our lives. We do this all the time in our lives. When is thinking a crime? Okay. We can think, okay, and we can express what we think. Okay, if I say to you, I think I'm going to cheat on him. Nah, See, I'm gonna think about robbing a bank. Nah, I'm not gonna do it. It's like, well, I'll give you one, right? Madonna said, I've been doing a lot of thinking of blowing up the White House. Did she do it? I mean, yeah, it is a vile threat. But, and all the other anti-Trump statements. And yeah, they should be taken seriously, but I think I will fire him. And then, because that's why people have advisors. That's why people have other people in their circle to advise them. That's why I've often said that for every great man, there is a better woman standing behind him, supporting him. And that's why in my relationships, especially in my good ones, okay, one person's bad could be someone else's good. So in other words, if I'm bad in this, somebody else might be good in this. So somebody else who is good for what I'm bad at could say to me, wait a minute, have you thought about this? Maybe you shouldn't do that. You know, this is why you shouldn't do it. I think that happened a few times in my life when I would think to do something. You know, I'm thinking of doing something, and then I tell somebody I'm thinking of doing it, and then they say to me, you know, that might not be a good idea. You know, that might not be a good idea. And because of this reason. So this is what they're going after with that line of questioning about firing Mueller. Okay, he could have said that out of frustration. We always say things in the heat of the moment, or sometimes we are just very vocal and verbal, and we say things right out of our thought. Some people think a lot before they speak, and then there are some people who just speak their minds just as they're thinking it. They just speak it right then and there, and then someone else is listening who might have a different take on it can advise that person, you know, I don't think that's such a good idea. I don't think you should do that. I've been advised like that many times. When I would think about doing something, and then someone else will step in and say, I don't think that's a good idea. And then here's my reasons. You know, and it's, oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, you're right. That's not a good idea. And I believe that's the case what happened with President Trump with the idea of firing Mueller. Because he might have seen a foresight. Because, okay, he's been in business. He's never been in politics. There's a term for it. Learning as you go. You know, it's like, okay, when you start any new job, here's a good example, right? I was a bank teller, and I think I was a bank teller for about a year, when there was a sign posted up saying that a new position is just open, and the new position was about sitting at the desk to introduce new customers or potential new customers for the services that the bank offered, right? And anybody who's interested to take that position, okay, you know, let management know. I was thinking about doing it, but I was so afraid What if I failed? What? Because once I give up that teller cage, they're going to hire somebody else to fill that. And what if I fail at this? I'm fired. You know. But I didn't talk about it with anybody. I didn't say it to anybody. I just thought it and decided on my own, you know what? I'm scared to do that. I don't think I'm confident enough to do that. I'm not going to do it. Oh, I'll give you one better. And you know what happened? Somebody else took it. And I never thought that I could say to Miss Massoni, Miss Massoni, I want to take that position, but I'm scared to do it because I'm afraid that if I fail miserably at it, then I'll be fired. And then you know what? I'm sure Miss Massoni would say to me, I understand your fears, but let me assure you, you see, talking about it. It's always important to talk about something what you're going to do or what you're not going to do, you know. And if you think it and not tell anybody about it to get maybe a second opinion, you know, or somebody playing devil's advocate, right? Because playing devil's advocate is a wonderful thing, because you are getting feedback for your thoughts. But if you think something and decide to do something without telling anybody what you're thinking to get their view on it, you might do something you may regret. It's just like losing our stuff, right? Instead of talking about it with family, I screwed myself up. See, this is proof. This is proof that I just proved that talking about an issue with somebody of what you're thinking is extremely vital. That if you don't talk about something you're thinking, you're going to screw yourself. So it's important to talk to somebody about what you're thinking. And I wish I did. I wish I did what Trump did. Trump is a role model for me, because Trump probably got scared. He might have said those things, you know, or he might have thought, you know, fire Mueller. But he was smart. He talked about it with somebody. And that person said, you know, Mr. President, that's not a good idea. Just like if I talked about it with my family, about my possible losing my stuff, they might have had an idea that I didn't think of. Or they might have stepped in and said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. But because I didn't, I thought it, and I acted on my thinking rather than talking about it with somebody to get maybe their idea on it, or maybe they would step in and help. I ended up screwing myself. So, for Trump, this whole issue about Trump thinking about firing Mueller, he talked about it with somebody else. And that person discouraged him and said it's not a good idea. I've been told that it's always important to talk about what you're thinking to others. It's always important. Trump did it, I didn't do it. And as a result, it was good for him, it was bad for me. So it's always important to talk to people about what you're thinking or what you want to do, because then you get their feedback and maybe their, you know, whatever. Okay. And as far as, so actually there were three things now, I guess. Okay. The first one was about the alleged response by whatever his name was, being told that as special counsel, but we don't know what he did. Were there any other witnesses? You see, this is one of the questions you would put on paper to President Trump. What was your reaction when you were told that a special counsel had been appointed? And then he would answer on paper. It's sworn documents can be legitimate testimonies. It happens all the time in court. Just depositions, right? And because I think I did that once, where I signed a deposition saying on everything that I say, and it's recorded and whatever, and it's admissible. It's admissible. If you choose not to appear or be interviewed, you can have a deposition and have questions written down, and you write the answers. And that would be one of the questions I would put on that deposition. When you were first told that special counsel has been appointed, what did you say? How was your reaction? And let Trump answer that. And if it contradicts what he said Trump didn't say, then you got something. Okay. So that's hearsay. Now, I was watching the testimony until a Democrat, okay, I forget where she was from, said the media reported, at which point I laughed. The media reported this about one of the things that's in the report that Mueller had written. And when I heard the media reported, I just laughed, and I said, "Oh my God, the media reported, and you're gonna accept that as a credible source? The media reported that this happened, and you're gonna accept that? Oh my God. Oh, what a joke." That's when I laughed, and I was like, oh, I see where this is going, but it's like if somebody lies, like, what's his name? Comey, I guess, that he is a known compulsive liar. When you lie once, your credibility is shot, man. Your credibility is shot. If you lie once, then anything you say will always be in doubt. Always. By lying once, you shot your credibility. It's shot. It's shot. And if they're accepting media reports as legitimate sources of information, oh my gosh, that is like, okay, I watched enough of this. but not so much for that, but it's like if they're bringing media reports, and we can only assume, and I think this is a safe assumption now, that the media reports are from mainstream media. Okay. Then it's totally biased. Totally biased. And whatever media reported to Mueller, but it's like, I don't know if it was ever challenged or not. Frankly, I don't care now. I don't care if it's challenged or not. The minute media reports are admissive or added to source of information, whole thing is shot. Whole thing is shot. Okay. Media reports, as soon as I heard media reports, I was like, oh, I just laughed, and I just hit my remote and turned the damn thing off. I said, media reports. So you're gonna say you interviewed media, or media reported that, and you watched it and you accepted what you saw on the media. I was like, okay, I'm watching enough of this. Okay, it's joke. It's a big joke now. If they're going to accept media reporting of an event, the report is totally flawed. Totally flawed. If that whole page report that Mueller put out and all that investigation, it's invalid. It's totally invalid. That report is valid. It's invalid. If you're gonna, accept media reporting as fact, oh, please. So I just want to let you know that I did watch it for 65 minutes, and what my reaction was of the first 65 minutes that I watched this total media circus. And I know that Fox News is going to have their comments about it. I just wanted to share with you mine. That's really all. But so the Mueller's report has in its body hearsay testimony, a case where President Trump thinks of doing something and then advised not to do it, which everybody in America has experienced at least one time in their lives. It's nothing criminal. There's nothing criminal in having a thought. This is what you find in George Orwell's 1984, where there's a thought police. And if you think something, that's a crime. If you're thinking, which is also like what happened in Nazi Germany, okay, that if you think I'm going against the Reich, or your thinking is against the Reich, you could be murdered, executed, put to death for having those thoughts. Okay? So it's like George Orwell's 1984. He thought of doing something and talked about it with somebody else and was advised not to do it, so he didn't do it. Okay, next order of business. But they capture that and they milk it for all it's worth, which is hardly anything. But they'll milk it and keep churning and repeat it. But he said he was going to fire Mueller, so that's guilty of obstruction, blah, blah, blah. Because he thought of doing it, now he's charged for obstruction. That's proof, because he thought to do it, that is proof of obstruction. Because he thought it and told somebody about what he was thinking and was advised not to do it. So he didn't do it. But he thought it. Oh my God. He thought to do it. Oh my God. If thinking about doing it is a crime, we are all guilty and should be in jail. So then several million people would be in jail for thinking about something. Because we all think about things. And we talk about it with other people. So he is guilty of obstruction because he thought about firing Mueller, but talked about it with somebody else and was advised not to. I said, oh, you're right. Okay, next. So, let him continue. It's okay, you know. But he thought, well, yeah, but he changed his mind after he talked about it with somebody. But he did think it, and that's punishable, because that's obstruction. Because he wanted to fire Mueller, he wanted to interfere, he wanted to obstruct, he was thinking about it. So you, Mr. Trump, are guilty of obstruction of justice because you were thinking about firing Mueller. Just because you thought about it, you are guilty of obstruction. Was Mueller fired? No, but he thought it. Slap the cuffs on him. He thought it. And that's punishable because he thought it. He had that thought, and because he had that thought, he is guilty. Shoved the cuffs on him, sent him to prison. Because he thought it. Forget that he talked about it with somebody. Forget that he changed his mind. Forget that it never happened. He is vilely guilty for thinking it. And that's what we got. That's what we got. That's what we got. Because he thought it. He thought it and spoke about it with somebody. When you're unsure about it, when I think I'm going to do this, let me ask. I want to get somebody's opinion on this. So there you go. 3 things that I wanted to get off my chest. I'm hoping that it meets with the standards and stuff. And I hope that this video will not be taken down because I'm not expressing any hatred. I'm not inciting any violence. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just offering my opinion and my impression and response and reaction to the first 65 minutes of that hearing. So we got hearsay, we got thinking about doing something, and we got media reports. And it's the media reports that really did it. So, in a way, you might say, hearsay, strike 1. He was thinking about it, strike 2. Media reporting, strike 3, you're out of there. But it was the media reports that really did it. Now, you're out of there, sit on the bench, you're not playing anymore. Because you're a terrible person at bat. You're the worst batter I've ever had on my baseball team. Because you had 3 strikes, you are out, I don't want you on my team anymore. I'll get somebody else to play on my team. You know, basically that's how I feel about the testimony. You know, so I will later watch the 5 and Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters, you know, and their response to, you know, to the hearing, because they'll probably watch the whole thing. After media reports, after you're going to rely on the media as a reliable source, nope. Then I'm like, oh, I'm not watching it anymore. That's it. Because, you know, I mean, really, I mean, that's 3 Pinocchios right there. 3 Pinocchios. You know. But that was a big one. That last one was a big one. Relying on media reporting as credible source. Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. Media reporting as credible source. Oh, it's like, oh, hell no, I ain't watching no more now. That is like, oh, media, I mean, oh, man. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. Oh, my gosh. I tell you, it saved me many hours of watching this. It's just, it's all circus. It's all for show. It's all it is. You know. Because I thought, okay, well, it's good that he's staying within the confines of his reports, that he's not going to go outside. And it was nothing Mueller said. It was what they said to Mueller. Oh, God. So, yes, Mueller stayed within the scope and confines of his reports for his answers. But the outrageous statements made were from the Democrats interviewing him. Oh, boy. 3 Democrat senators just put the last nail in the narrative's coffin, as far as I'm concerned. You know. Hearsay, he thought about it, and media reporting. So, that's what I want to talk about. So, now, everybody has their own opinion, and that's fine. This is mine. This is my take on it. And I just wanted to share that with you. You can disagree with me. You can agree with me. It's okay. It's okay if we disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. So if you agree with me, fine. If you disagree with me, that's also fine. So, I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I think this really is going to be the last video about anything political. But, I mean, I just had to I just had to share this. I just had to share this. My response, my reaction to the Mueller hearing. And it's funny. When I see the name Mueller, you know what I think of? Pasta. Mueller makes good pasta. You know, like Ronzoni and any one of those companies. And of course the thing, Mueller beer. You know, it's Mueller time. Sit at the bar and enjoy Mueller beer. Right? Anyhow, that's just what I thought. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you soon. Alright, take care, everybody. Have a good time. Have a good day. Alright, take care. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Okay, take care.